This is MJ. Welcome to another Ridercast. Join me as I talk about all the Kamen Riders of the Hesei era from Kuuga to Zio. This time, Type Drive, or Episode Drive. I don't know how to call it. Anyway, so first I'm going to go ahead and talk about all the meta information of Kamen Rider Drive. Kamen Rider Drive aired from October 5th, 2014 to September 7th, 2015. The first and second episodes were both directed by Ryuta Tasaki and written by Riku Sanjo of Kamen Rider Double fame, for you Kamen Rider Double fans. And let's see, the opening theme song, which is called Surprise Drive, which is a lot of fun, actually. It's a great song, actually. I really love it. The lyrics were written by Shoko Fujibayashi, according to the fandom Kamen Rider Wikia. Composer was Tatsuo, and that's all I got. Oh, no. Singer is Mitsuru Matsuoka. So there you go. And last thing I wanted to touch on in the meta information is the suit actors, and I think really it's just going to be the one today. Let me see. I lost it, so I had to scroll. Hold on. Forgive me. So, yeah, Drive is played by Seiji Takaiwa. And we've got, let's see, Kamen Rider. No, I'm going to skip all those. Oh, but we do see two Roimudes who I'm going to name right now. Name them and shame them. That's my game. The Brain Roimude is played by Daisuke Sato. And the Heart Roimude is played by Yohei Fujita, and I don't believe I'm familiar with those names, so actually I'm going to go ahead and take a moment and go ahead and dive into who these individuals are. So Daisuke Sato, that's funny, the Wikia has a picture of him with Junya Ikeda, who played, the guy who was the Super Sentai fan in Gokaiger, Gokai Silver. Gai Ikari? Is that his name? Anyway, sorry about that tangent. So it says in Super Sentai, so let's see. Okay, several minor roles in Kamen Rider. That's Daisuke Sato, who portrayed the Brain Roimude. And it says he had roles in, I'm just going to kind of list them off. Goanger. Decade, he played several villains who'd been several guest spot villains from different episodes. In Shinkenger, he played somebody. He was a dopant in Kamen Rider Double. Let's see, it says he was in Gao Sager as Demon Bug Soldiers Bibi. Kamen Rider O's, he was a Bison Yummy. In Gokaiger, he was Gokai Silver. He was also in, I'm just going to go fast now, Go Busters. He was in Gaim. He was in the Gaim Wizard movie. He was in, of course, he was in Heisei vs. Showa. He was, let's see, in Drive it says he played other Roimudes too, not just Brain. And in Ghost, he's the Machine Gun Ganma. And in Kamen Rider Amazons, he's the Mole Amazon, which is kind of fun. And then the guy who played Heart is Yohei Fujita. And the other roles that he's had as a suit actor are, let me see. It says in here he's the suit actor for Heart Roimude and Kamen Rider Drive, as well as the Iron Roimude. He also appeared in the flesh as an animated dead body in episode 22. That's kind of creepy. All right, now on to the cast of Kamen Rider Drive. We have Shinnosuke Tomari, who I talked about already a little bit. He calls himself a lazy wash-up or washout. I can't remember what that actual phrase is supposed to be. But right now he's working for something like the DMV for the police, and he isn't really they are a special unit, but they aren't, that's housed inside the DMV or whatever. But they aren't really too active just yet, and he definitely isn't active, but everybody else around him is kind of supposed to be, especially Shijima Kiriko. She's very driven, she's extremely athletic. Like I said, she's involved with trying to get him to be Drive, and she actually told him that she would have been Drive if she could have been, but she couldn't be, so she's really adamant that he takes on that responsibility, which is neat. Next we have Honganji Jun, who is like their captain, I guess, and he's a little eccentric. He's into his horoscope. He wants to keep the group motivated and going together, but he does it in a very silly way, and it's just kind of funny. Then there's a Saijo Q, who's like their CSI or tech expert kind of guy, and he's very strange. He's got these little dolls that he carries around with him while he talks. Anyway, yeah. So he's a fandom guy kind of guy, which I get and I can respect. I guess he's an otaku, you would say. And we don't get too much from him, but he can definitely be serious, which is fun to see because he seems like such an unserious character. But it doesn't make sense that he would be in that job if he wasn't serious about it, right? Anyway, the suit actors don't get enough love, so I thought I may as well, do what I can here. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the premise of Kamen Rider Drive, which is basically this, that these artificial intelligence beings, Roimude, somehow gain independence from their creator and start wreaking havoc on the world. Now, there's a little bit more, so I'm going to deviate now and just kind of go into general synopsis and general, not premise, but like what's going on in the show. There was this thing called the global freeze where time slowed down and stopped for a bunch of people. Shinnosuke Tomari was one of them. He's a detective from a special unit of some sort, and he and his partner were going after bad guys. And while they were doing that, he took a risky shot, and it was definitely set off course by the slowdown or global freeze, whatever, and it caused his partner to become injured, basically. And Shinnosuke feels responsible for that, like he is, and he actually has been kind of on suspension doing this different duty. Meanwhile, Kiriko, a co-worker of his, and Mr. Belt have been trying to figure out a way to get him involved as a warrior in the fight against the Roimude. So, what are the Roimude's goals? We do not know. What's their power source? We do not know. Where's the drive stuff come from? We do not know, but we will, I don't know, maybe I'll speculate on that at the end of the episode. Sawagami Rina is a brilliant scientist who's working for the Special Crimes Unit, the SCU, as we call it. And it says that she's an electrical physicist, but she makes inventions that can detect the slowdown particles, the density shift, I think is what they call it, also the slowdown by the Roimudes. And at this point, it's unclear if they know that the Roimudes are active, but she's like fun-loving, and she pokes fun at Gan at some point, and kind of Shinnosuke too, and I don't know, she's got a real fun personality, and she's a intriguing character. It'll be interesting to see exactly where she goes. Will she be the mad scientist of the group? It's not evident that that's how it's going to go from here because, it's just not. Hasn't been shown in the text of the show yet. Next up is Mr. Belt. Mr. Belt is a belt who used to be a man. He appears to be the henshin device of Kamen Rider Drive of Shinnosuke, and he's very serious. He feels very like he's got some gravitas. Looks like he died once, and he's being haunted by his dreams of Roimude coming and I think murdering him to death. I guess before he backed up his brain into a belt or something. I don't know. Very interesting. He seems very concerned for Shinnosuke, and I don't know where that's coming from. It's kind of nice, but he also seems to be keeping secrets from Shinnosuke, which is something that Shinnosuke picks up on and kind of says like, hey, I can't quite trust you because you're holding things from me. And I don't know. It's a very interesting, very weird character. And it's odd that there's a belt who used to be a person who's a character in the show, but that's the surprise at his drive, I guess. Otake Pachiro is a serious detective who doesn't believe in anything. He's a skeptic. He refuses to believe of the slowdown stuff that's happening as it's happening in front of him. And Q and Rina are there, and they're both flummoxed by the fact that he is refusing to accept this reality. And that's kind of interesting, odd. I don't really know how to describe it, but I guess he's supposed to be like the straight man to all these weirdos that are in this special crimes unit. And it looks pretty obvious from the opening that he's going to be a large part of the show, or at least like a recurring cast member. It's unclear if he's SCU just yet, or if he'll ever be. So now I want to switch over to talking about the Roimudes. Actually, no. Before I do that, I want to talk about the vibe of the SCU. And the vibe of the SCU is like lighthearted and fun, but these people are also very serious and committed to their productive work, which is, saving people's lives. And Shinnosuke seems to be the exception of that because he feels like a failure and like he can't move on. And I really should include Hesei right now, but I'm going to talk about him in my conclusion because he's a major character of the show. He's more a utility for the show to get Shinnosuke's engine started. And that's kind of an interesting thing to talk about later. But yeah, I like the feel. There's this bit I'm going to stop right there talking about the SCU, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Roimude faction. So while the Roimudes' motives are unclear, we have no idea what they want, they have a kind of strong sense of character. We've got heart, we've got brain. They seem to be generals, which is like a tokusatsu trope term. So, I mean, what does that really say about them as characters? I don't know. There's not enough there other than brain is intellectual and serious, and heart is fun-loving and mischievous, perhaps. I don't know. But he seems to care very deeply about one of their fallen comrades, and he helps number 29, which is the main guy from episode 1, and I guess episode 2 as well, because he comes back. I don't really know what else to say about them. They kind of despise humans, it looks like, which is why they're fine making them suffer, I guess. But it's unclear, again, what the Roimudes' objectives are. They also have a comrade named Chase, who we don't get any other details about other than he's Chase. He rides a motorcycle, and he's all in purple, it looks really cool. I like his outfit. But we don't know what he does except for he's very strong, and I think they insinuate that he is strong enough to have killed one of their fellows, but it's unclear if he would have. But he does ask them who his next target is. So maybe he's an assassin for them. I don't know. All right, it's design time. So the show's shot in a little bit of a different way to highlight the designs probably. There's this nice, cool car called Trideron. It's red. It's flashy. It apparently is part of the armor of Kamen Rider Drive. It matches his suit design, and like a panel of it comes off and turns into his armor, it looks like, which is pretty cool. We've got these shift cars, which are kind of a big deal in the show. They're the source of the powers for Drive, and they're like sentient little toy car looking things, but they're alive and they can fight, and they fight Roimudes. But like, they all have this thing where the back of them twists and then it loads into this brace that he wears to transform and utilize their powers. But it's weird. They have these crazy floating streets that appear before them, and it allows them to move around and attack Roimudes and stuff. And like I said before, Mr. Belt is a belt who used to be a man, and Shinnosuke wears them, and for whatever reason he's been in that car that Shinnosuke drives as an accessory or like a part of the dashboard, basically. And Shinnosuke never noticed, which is really funny, especially with him being such a brilliant detective, which I'll get to later. It's interesting how much, I'm guessing Mr. Belt is involved with the making of the Trideron and the drive suit and all that stuff. That just kind of seems to make sense. But it all does have like a very real-world, slick design. The cars look like real toy cars, which I don't know if that's a credit to them or not. But they have... they do puppetry with them, basically, and the puppetry is really convincing because it makes them feel like they have character and personality, which is a lot of fun. But each of those cars loads into his brace, and he can shift into whatever and use different powers. So he's got like Max Flare, which is featured in this episode, or the first episode, and it allows him to like get all flamey, and the tire across his chest changes, which is a pretty cool way to have like swappable armor, kind of like Forza, where he had bits that he would switch out, but it's just the tire, and then he gets like powers, which is something I kind of like. It makes it simplified, but still it's very varied. And he's got Funky Spike, which gives him a green tire with spikes on it, and then Midnight Shadow, which is an over-the-top name for these ninja powers that he gets to use with this ninja shift car, which like it duplicates itself and throws shurikens and stuff, and it gives him the power to throw these, shurikens that just appear out of nowhere, which is a lot of fun. So it's a lot of it's a very frenetic design for all the toys, and I think they look cool, and they come off really fun, and they, I think, play very well in like the Kamen Rider power set thing. And then he does this crazy thing for his finisher. The Trideron drives around in crazy circles, and he bounces back and forth like Sonic or something, and then he comes at the enemy with a rider kick, which was pretty fun. And then doubling down on how linked he and the Trideron are. The Trideron can be driven even remotely by Mr. Belt, and he can equip the powers of the stuff that Shinnosuke used, the shift cards that he's used to utilize all their powers. He can use, looks like 3, maybe even more at once, and like he can destroy a Roimude's body, which their body is separate from their soul, basically, and the soul's like the number in like chrome plated, 001, 002, up to 108 apparently of numbers that they come in, because that's how many Roimudes they are. It's a little weird and complicated, but anyway, it's all very interesting. And then you've got Rina's design work, which is like silly, put together stuff that it's all very functional and it all makes sense, but it looks goofy, and like Gen is embarrassed of it, and I think even Shinnosuke is. And it's kind of funny that you have like super hard sci-fi stuff that looks really cool, and then you've got her silly designs. And again, I think that Mr. Belt, whoever he was as a man before, perhaps designed the Roimudes, created them, and they turned against him. Anyway, it's a little... I'm going to transition into talking about them now. Apparently, they have little cars that they go into, and the car makes a body for them. Like, the number floats outside, and then it gets a little tiny toy car, and then it turns into a big, weird Roimude body. It's all shades of gray for the most part, except there are like these red wire details on them in different places. And it looks like there's 3 basic forms of them, which are a bat, a spider, and maybe a snake, but I'll get to that more later. But they all kind of have like skulls in their face area. Like the whole body looks very armored, except for in the face it looks more like a skeleton. And then they've got like a chest plate that says their number on it, and it's a 3-digit number. And like the designs look intimidating and kind of scary, but they're also pretty weird. Like especially the Cobra, the way its Cobra wings or whatever hang off its head, it almost looks more like it should be like bird wings or something, but I think it's supposed to be like a Cobra's hood. It's a little hard to read, but it looks like they're using all the same base armor for all the different suits. So like 3 to 7 showed up in the present time to fight Shinnosuke or to fight Drive and cause issues. And actually they seem like there were 2 that kept showing up to help one of them. So, I mean, the Roimude are all one race or whatever. They stick together. That's pretty cool. But yeah. Anyway, their design's interesting. I like it. I like using like a simple form that can be modified, swapped out different things, and used over and over again. I like that idea, just because I know they're actually making these suits, and I'm sure it's expensive. So the more cost-saving things that they do that are cool, like this, all these different AI guys having like the same type of base bodies and then transforming into more advanced forms, which they're able to do under certain conditions that are very unclear in the show, that makes me happy, because I feel like that's going to allow them to really make better designs overall, and like to pour more, like if you can skip the easy stuff, or make it easier for yourself, then you can really focus on putting your energy into the harder things and making each of those more like high-level elements sing, which I didn't really like the weird, like I don't know what this guy was supposed to be, that the first Roimude, number 29, like what it evolved into. It's purple, it's got long arms, like I don't really know what they're going for here, but like his design is nothing compared to Brain and Heart's designs, which are very good and very high level, very detailed and intricate, and I like I don't understand them, but I like what's going on. So that's really all I have to say about the design work. So overall, I really like the debut of Kamen Rider Drive. I'm trying really hard. Just like Gaim, Drive is another show that I have a lot of problems with, and this is me speaking from having seen the whole show. But I'm trying to set that all aside and just talk about the premiere. I thought the premiere was really, gave us a really interesting sense of who everybody was. I think all the design stuff looks really good. Kiriko is really cool. I love like all the gumption she has, how brave she is, and I like the idea behind her not being able to be Drive, and that like pushing her to encourage Shinnosuke, who is capable and who's special for some reason. And I enjoy the camaraderie that the two of them have kind of with each other, even though it's like negative right now. But the potential for it to grow and for their partnership to grow is really interesting to me, especially because he lost a partner who I will be talking about later. But like the way they work in with the SCU, like I said before, it's a lot of fun. And after like all the contention and strain between characters in Gaim, it's cool to see like a solid crew that the writer can be working with. Anyway, Shinnosuke's special. He's like a super genius, which I'm okay with the detective main character in my show being a super detective, but he has this like Jimmy Neutron style brain blast, and that's my reference. So I've never seen Sherlock or anything like that, so maybe it's like that. I don't know, but I don't know. It almost feels like they're just telling me he's really great and super special, and they're not showing it. So that's a little bit of a weakness. Something I thought was really strong was his buddy Hesei, his partner, who he ended up hurting, encourages him, and he says basically like, "Hey, bro, I'm a fellow police officer. I'm out of the count, or I'm down and out of commission because of what happened. So like, you can't quit. You got to keep going. You need to be stronger and work at top gear for my sake too, because I can't protect people anymore. And you want to make your old man proud, and you feel like you've shamed him by what happened 6 months ago. But like, don't let that stop you. Don't let that slow you down. You need to get out there, and if you can't fight for yourself, then fight for me." And I thought that was really awesome, and I really hope to see from his appearance here Hayase come back, because it'd be interesting to see exactly what he could do and what his further involvement in the show would be. The fact that Kiriko's been involved with Mr. Belt for 6 months, 5 months, who knows, maybe up to 6 months or longer, probably closer to 6 anyway, is really interesting. And I didn't mention the drive pit earlier. Like, that's a lot of the design element too, but it's just cool, like kind of hard sci-fi techie stuff, and I like it a lot. I really like Trideron, the design of it. It looks really good. I don't know what there is else to say about it. I'm not a car guy, but like, that's a cool looking car. And a lot of people were mad. You may not know this, that Drive was going to be a Kamen Rider who drove a car, not a motorcycle, primarily. Or he doesn't drive one at all throughout the whole show, I hate to tell you. But I don't mind it, whatever. It allows for, it's different. It's a different tactic, and it's interesting. I like what they did with it, all the action scenes. Of course, it's not ever going to be that, or like, it'll rarely be that big again. But they did a lot of cool stuff with the Roimude. I liked that the bat, like its ears, I think, grow into wings and it flies. And like the Roimude work together in a really interesting and novel way that I don't remember ever seeing any villains do before, especially not in Kamen Rider. Definitely not in any of the Hesei-era shows that I've sampled so far. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen later on in the series, but for sure, like, it's interesting. They use a lot of CG, but it wasn't like one of them grew to a giant monster. Instead, they're doing this crazy maneuver with the flying, and then you've got the one Roimude that's so fast it's running past cars, kind of like, it's not as fast as Flash, but like really fast, 50, 60, 70 miles per hour, who knows. And then Shinnosuke's, chasing it down in the car, and like, the way that they're approaching things is really interesting and fun, and I'm really enjoying it. So my hat's off to the team behind Drive. I think Sanjo's made some interesting characters. The potential for all of them to grow is interesting. I can see kind of, the nascent arcs or seeds for arcs developing, and for the most part it looks pretty interesting, although I want more showing how awesome Shinnosuke is and why he's awesome than just telling. And I think I'm pretty much going to wrap up there. I don't know what else I could say about the premiere of Drive. The song's great. The fighting was really interesting. I thought it was all pretty novel and creative. And it doesn't feel samey at all to any of the other Rider debuts or premieres that I can think of. So that's a good thing. It feels fresh and new and exciting. And it seems like it's more fun, but there's a lot of pathos there in the background too, which is nice. Enough for me. What are your thoughts on Kamen Rider Drive as a series overall? How did you like this debut? Who's your favorite character? Who's your least favorite character? That's what I want to know. Let's see, what else about Drive? What's your favorite form and least favorite form? Because I think the forms get a little wild in the show, and some of them might be a bit divisive. And then tell me if you've got a favorite writer other than Shinnosuke and why. I'd be curious to know. So anyway, you can leave a comment about that either on the YouTube or on my blog. And if you're really itching, you can message me on Twitter. Links in the description. It's RC_Moon. MJMunoz.com is home for all my work. Podcasts and reviews of anime, tokusatsu, Star Wars, and more. Plus my original writings. If you didn't enjoy this, critique me. If you did, leave me a comment. If you really like this, consider tipping me at coffee.com/mjmunoz. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Until next time, be well.